What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out the final two Link Frames Pack 3 monsters that were revealed during the live stream. Whenever that last unknown Link monster is revealed, I will talk about that card. Maybe we'll have to wait until the full release of Link Frames Pack 3, but Abyss Actors got themselves a Link monster, and it's cool because it's a Link 1. Most people know how I feel about Link 1s. I love them. They're just so easy to make within their archetypes. Cards like Magical Musketeer Max, Trap Trick Sarah. I was wondering when we'd see some Link 1s in Link Frames Pack 3. This is Abyss Actor Hyper Director, Link 1, Dark Attribute Fiend Monster, 800 attack, and its link point is straight down to you. It requires as link material an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster, so you can't turn one into another one. You can just use any of your Abyss Actor monsters. It says that its effect is a hard once per turn. That effect says target one card in your pendulum zone. For the rest of the turn, you cannot normal or special summon monsters except Abyss Actor monsters. Also special summon the targeted card, then take from your deck or extra deck one Abyss Actor pendulum monster with a name that is different than the special summon card, and if you do, place it in your pendulum zone. Okay, so I feel like Konami is doubling down on the beatdown strategy for Abyss Actors. I know they have a little bit of a side strategy where, you know, they'll set their Abyss script cards and they'll try to get the opponent, or sometimes even force the opponent to pop those cards and get crazy effects like draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. But I feel like with this card, and this is a solid card, I feel like Abyss Actors best are suited for kind of like a go second beatdown deck. And I think Konami probably doesn't want every pendulum deck in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh just being another, oh, let's just go for Electromite Turbo, Infinite Negate. Like, that's boring, man. Every single pendulum deck doesn't need to play exactly the same. Even if this card isn't as good as something like Heavy Metaphors Electromite, this card does lock you into only being able to special summon the Abyss Actors for the rest of the turn. But Abyss Actors do have some cards that already do that, so if you're playing a pure Abyss Actor build, it's not something that is unfamiliar to you. Number one, this card is incredibly easy to summon. You don't even have to use your normal summon. You can use something like Curtain Riser, special it from the pendulum scale, and then instantly go into this card. Number two, I really like the fact that not only does this card special summon a monster from your pendulum scale, but then it also replaces that monster too. And it lets you get whatever you want from your main deck and put it in the scale. And that can be obviously like that can set you up for maybe one of your important pendulum effects. I know Madonna has like a search effect where she pays 1,000 life points, and she's basically a Cleaford scout for the archetype. And that's a nice boost to consistency. I feel like with the resources that Abyss Actors have, they still are going to be locked into trying to go second and just beat down the opponent with Evil Hill and those other cards. They're not going to be a deck that puts up a bunch of negates. They don't have any ways of disrupting the opponent during their turn like Endymions and some of the other pendulum decks, but that's perfectly fine. Sometimes I think it's fine for Konami to preserve the identity of an archetype. As long as the card works fine in its archetype, it's fine if this, you know, Abyss Actor deck is never going to be as good as Endymions. If it's not going to be able to put up 4 negates turn 1, it still has its own little, what's the word I'm looking for? Its own little niche win condition, and this card is going to help it achieve that a little better. Next up is the Mayakashi Link monster. I'm not sure who asked for this, but I know that that person or those people are happy. This is Yuki Onna, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi. It's a Link 4 water zombie monster. 2,900 attack, and your link points are the same as Bolo Dragons, left, right, bottom, left, bottom, right. It requires 2+ zombie monsters as the materials. It says that your third effect is a hard once per turn. Your first effect is you can only control one of this card. Effect number 2 negates any activated effect from an opponent's monster that was banished when its effect was activated. Third effect, if a monster is special summoned from the graveyard or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, you can target one other face-up monster on the field. Its attack becomes 0, also negate its effect. Okay, so almost everything surrounding this card is incredibly bizarre to me. First off, it even being a Link 4 was just kind of confusing. Usually when Konami builds these archetypes that have Link monsters, they go up the ladder step by step. Look at Ultrageist or Tenyi, Link 1, 2, 3, 4. But with Mayakashi, like, they had a Link 2, then they just kind of skip Link 3 for no reason and went straight to Link 4. That's generally not a very good idea. You kind of go step by step so that you can know if your deck can handle Link climbing, and we don't know with this card. Like, I don't even know if it's going to be very easy to summon. I look at the second effect and I think, okay, so it negates effects of monsters that are, you know, trying to activate in the banish pile, but to me that feels incredibly niche. It feels like a very small amount of Yu-Gi-Oh archetypes. Like, I mean, is this card trying to counter Shiranui, which ironically is an archetype that can actually summon this card? I guess it could be good in like the Thunder Dragon matchup, but I really just don't understand why Konami didn't make it negate graveyard effects. Like, if it would have negated graveyard effects, do you understand how amazing that would be against basically everything in the meta? Like, we know because of cards like Abyss Dweller that stopping your opponent's graveyard, locking down their graveyard monster effects can be invaluable. You auto win against Orcus, auto win against like Salamangreats. I don't know why they chose Banish Pile instead of like the graveyard. That was kind of weird. Now, you do get a little bit of disruption if your opponent tries to activate any monster in their graveyard, then you get to negate one of their cards. You get basically kind of like a souped up, no, what is it? It's cross domination. You get a Magical Musketeer cross domination where you get to negate one of their monsters and make that monster 0 attack. Like, that's pretty good. It can activate during both players' turns. Your opponent doesn't even have to try to activate it because you can just special summon one of your zombie monsters from your graveyard, and then you can target one of their dudes, make it 0 attack, make it have no effect, and just run it over. It's fine, but honestly, I think that this card is just a little too much work than it's worth. I can't see this as a good standalone card unless it's in some very specific matchups, as I said before, Shiranui or maybe Thunder Dragon, because my understanding with the second effect is that, let's just say your opponent activates like an Orcus effect from the graveyard, an Orcus Nightmare or a Harp Horror, you cannot negate that card even though it is banished now, and that's because it activates in the graveyard. I really don't understand why they didn't pick the graveyard to lock down. Like, that just would have made so much more sense. The graveyard has always been much more important in Yu-Gi-Oh than like the banish pile, and that definitely hasn't changed. So why this card would attack the banish pile just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This card could have been fantastic for Mayakashi. It could have given them a win condition, could have even been like amazing for other zombie decks, but I feel like it just kind of misses the mark. I mean, maybe it can be good, but my prediction is probably not. Anyways, whatever you guys think of these new Link monsters, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.